"Good morning, Tony," I said as he pulled up to the studio. Tony got out of the limo and opened up the trunk. "Where to today, Sam?" "We have to drag Izzy out of bed and get her to the Upper East Side," I said as we piled the cases into the trunk. "I heard she's no longer imbibing," Tony said as he opened the passenger door. "Word travels fast. I hope you're right." We arrived at Izzy's apartment, and sitting in the lobby was Izzy. She was staring down at the floor. "Izzy," I said. She looked up. "Let's go." I was trying to act like this was normal, and when I saw Tony, I gave him the thumbs up. The ride to Wiesel's apartment was quiet. I looked out of the window as we drove through Central Park. I'd never quite experienced a normal day in the 2 years I'd worked with Izzy. There was always some drama, conflict, or despair. It was a strange feeling that morning. I kept thinking Izzy would lash out, that she was coiled, ready to strike. But there was nothing. It was like she'd had a lobotomy. When we got to the location, Izzy told me to unload and wait in the lobby as usual. I was excited to meet Wiesel. Ever since I read his novel Night straight through in one sitting without so much as a bathroom break, I'd wondered about him. How he was able to express the horrors he witnessed in the concentration camp, with all the emotional layers and complexities a person encounters when faced with mortality at every moment. It was a conversation I wanted to have. He spoke for my father. I sat in the lobby, my mind racing, wondering when Izzy would come down. I felt awkward and conspicuous in this ornate lobby with all the photography equipment stacked next to me. People walked by and stared. I sat quietly, inwardly tense, and waited. Izzy finally arrived and told me to bring up the gear. The plan was to go for one shot in his library. "I'll meet you up there and try not to speak," Izzy said, placing her finger up to her lips. She's still the same, I thought to myself. But I felt I had to say something, to connect with Wiesel, to tell him about my father and fill in the blanks. I knew if I spoke, it would be the end of my job assisting Izzy. Maybe that was a good thing. When I got to the front door with all the gear, I knocked. It was Elie Wiesel who opened the door, and he extended his hand to mine. I reached for his hand, and we shook. He placed his other hand on mine and said in his thick accent, "Come on in. Izzy told me about you." I was still hoping to talk with Elie and tell him something about my father, but he was gone. I had missed the moment. My stomach clenched and I had one foot out the door when I heard Wiesel say, "Samuel, I have something for you." I turned around and he was standing there, looking at me. He handed me a book. It was Night. I couldn't believe he'd given me the book that I had read years before, the book that had left an indelible print on my life, that told my father's story. It was signed on the inside cover. "Thank you, Mr. Wiesel. Thank you so much. Samuel, never forget. Never forget." "No, Mr. Wiesel, I never will," I said, and I reached out to shake his hand goodbye. When we got into the limo, I turned to Izzy and said, "Thank you, Izzy. That meant a lot to me." That made me cry.
Me too.